Okay, good afternoon. It is 12:30 on May 14th. This is for the 7th grade class. Today we will be going over the answers to the packet, specifically week 4's language arts section and the vocab answers for, I believe, The Treasures of Lemon Brown was the story for this week. Before we get started, it was called to my attention that your packet has 7 weeks worth of work, and you only actually have 6 weeks to complete it in, so that obviously means you guys don't have to complete week 7. I did mention previously that you could go through different weeks, so you could do week 7 instead of week 2, or week 6 instead of week 7, or week 7 instead of week 3, or whatever. So if you aren't liking the stories for a particular week, you're free to jump to a different week to do the stories from those weeks if you prefer. So I'll get started. It looks as though no one's on yet, so I'll just talk to myself for a while until people start to show up. So if you're watching this at your own convenience, I'm going over the answers for week 4 of the language arts packet. So the ones that look like what's on my screen: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it will say week 4 beside the name blank. So first one, the very first one just asks you to pick whether or not this passage is an example of onomatopoeia, personification, foreshadowing, or irony. Hey, welcome, Nick. I'm just getting ready to go over the answers to week 4. If you have any questions for the movie project, feel free to type those in there as well. Hey, Tristan. And Tristan, also I wanted to mention you did a really good job on your poster. I thought that was really cool, and your soundtrack also. So I sent some feedback on the actual webpage, but if you didn't get that, I thought that was pretty clever. Yeah, and I'll type my email in for you. I put it on the website, the Google Classrooms, but I can type it in here as well. There you go. So if you're trying to email me a question, or if your video's done, you can use that email to do that. Before I get into the answers for the packet, did you guys have any questions about the movie project? I know Tristan has his poster done. Hey, you're welcome, Tristan. Good work. And a few people did the soundtracks. I know Tristan had it, and I think 2 other people. I'd have to go back and look to see which people completed it, though. So if you have a question, type it in there. Once we get through the answers to the packet for the week, then I'll go over some more stuff with the movie, a few more options that you guys might be interested in using. I know a few people sent questions. Someone asked if they could use animals, and that's fine if you can get them to cooperate. In years past, someone used actual stuffed animals. They used kind of like I think it was a sloth, and they did kind of like a King Kong type thing, but with a sloth. So if you want to use like stuffed animals or like models or something, if you have them lying around, you guys are probably too old to be playing with toys still, but if you have them in a closet somewhere and you want to use like a spaceship model or something, feel free to do that. Just be as creative as you want. I know, Tristan, yours is like set on an island, so however you want to do that's fine also. I thought your story so far looked pretty clever with the scarecrow and stuff, so interested to see it finished. All right, so if there aren't any questions, I'll get back to the packet. So we are starting Monday, week 4. The first questions just ask you to identify which literary device that they are using. So are they using onomatopoeia, irony, personification, or foreshadowing? So the sentence reads, "As the morning of November 22nd dawned, Blackbeard the pirate had no idea what fate would befall him before the day ended." So this isn't irony, because remember, irony is when the opposite of what you expect have happen happens. So he's a pirate, so like him having a terrible fate, like that makes sense. So it's not going to be irony. Onomatopoeia is when you have things like bang, boom, smash, noises being represented with words. So none of that's in that passage, so it's not onomatopoeia. Personification is if you give an animal or an item human qualities. So if I kicked my door on the way out of the room and I say stupid door, that's personification. There's none of that in the passage. So what's really in the passage is foreshadowing. So they're giving you a hint that something bad's going to happen to them before the day ends. So that's foreshadowing the event. So the first answer would just be D. You don't even have to write it. You can circle it, and that would be fine. So if you have that wrong, just cross out the wrong answer so I know that you corrected it. Nico, I saw your message that you emailed me. I'll check that as soon as we're done with this session, and then I'll get back to you on it. Did you email me the video, or is it a question? If it's a question, I can answer it right now. If it's the short film, then I'll watch it and get back to you. And I know there's a delay, so I'll keep going. The second one I wanted to go over is a little bit difficult. It's asking for you to circle the objective pronoun. So this is one of those kind of grammar rules that we haven't really spent a lot of time on. An objective pronoun means the pronoun that is being, how would I put this in simple terms? So it's the, I'll just go over the example. We told them the story of Anne Bonny, the female pirate. So in this one, the verb is told, right? So told who? You told them. So them's the objective pronoun. The objective is tied to the verb. So I know this is kind of complicated, but told's your verb, right? So who's being told? That's your objective pronoun, because the object of the verb is the objective pronoun. So for the first one, we told who? We told them, so circle them. The second sentence, everyone wanted to hear more about her. So the verb is to hear, so we want to hear what, or we want to hear more about her. Her's the pronoun, that's the subject of the verb, so that's what gets circled. I know that's kind of complicated. Normally you don't need to know those rules, so don't worry about that one. The second one, write the past tense of each verb. This one's pretty simple. Most of the words are regular, meaning you just added D to the end of them. Capture becomes captured. Escape becomes escaped. The other ones are a little bit different. Worry, you have to drop the Y and add an I, ED. Robbed, you have to add an extra B and an ED to it. And then catch and fight both have completely different words. They're irregular. Catch becomes caught and fight becomes fought. Nick, I saw that you just sent a message. Tell you what, Nick, I'll go through that as soon as our time's up here, right? Because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. So as soon as we're done with this at 1 o'clock, then I'll just talk you through whatever your question is. Just because I'm not sure what exactly you're asking. So at 1 o'clock, you and I will just go through this. Number 4, it is illogical that the word depraved, is it logical that the word depraved might be associated with pirates? Depraved means like wicked, vile, something like that. So yeah, that makes sense that you would associate that with a pirate. The 5th one just asks you to summarize that passage. There are a ton of different answers for that. It's basically just talking about pirates and privateers, how they're similar but not identical. And then buccaneers, which are basically the same thing as privateers. So basically they just want you to summarize that. And since there's so many different possibilities, I won't go over those, but just make sure you explain the difference between what a pirate is and a privateer. Tuesday, the main idea of this passage, also they just want you to say what's the main idea of the passage, similar to up there. There's a bunch of correct answers. Did I just skip one? Oh yeah. I did skip one. I went from Monday to Wednesday. Okay, so Tuesday is what we should be on. Tuesday is pretty simple. They just want you to give the plural of each noun. Buccaneer becomes buccaneers. Treasure becomes treasures. Child is one of the different ones where it becomes children. The only ones that are like really irregular here are the ones that end in vowels, such as an O. So you have radio, bounty, and tomato are the ones that end in vowels, which is what's going to make it irregular. So for radio, you have to add an E before you add the S. Tomato, same thing. For bounty, you have to drop the I, or drop the Y, add an I, and an ES. For the ones that end in CH, you also have to add an ES. Treasure, even though it ends in a vowel, it's still regular though. You just add an S to the end of treasure, and then you're fine. And most of these, you're recognized as looking wrong. If you just put an S at the end of match, you would probably like visually be able to like think like that doesn't look right. And that just comes from reading and writing over time. Like they just get kind of ingrained into you. Number 2 is pretty tricky because you guys probably don't spend a tremendous amount of time in like a school library, mainly because our school doesn't have a library, and lots of schools now don't have libraries, and people spend a lot more time getting information from the internet. But back in the day, like when I was a kid, you would have to use the library to answer questions that you could now just answer from going to Google. And libraries aren't in alphabetical order, so like they don't alphabetize books by subject or by the names of the books. What they do is they divide them into sections, like this is a history section, this is the horror section, this is the sci-fi section, this is the science section, and from that section they're then alphabetized by the author's names. So the biography of Mary Read would be found in a section where books are alphabetized first by subject and then by author's name. So they kind of try to trick you by just saying alphabetized by last names, because that's partially right, but they're also in sections. And since she's a pirate, it's a historical figure, she would be in the history section. The next one, add the correct punctuation. This is like what we spent a lot of time earlier in the year on the mugs activities that we used to put on the smart board when we would still rotate before we got into like whole group. In this, you would just add quotations to signify which words are being said. So arg is what the captain's actually saying, so you put quotations around arg. Probably put an exclamation point, because don't think arg is something you just say, it's kind of something you like yell. So you put arg in quotations, put an exclamation point after arg, and then you have growled Captain Jack. Then you're going to put a comma there because he starts talking again, and then put quotes around gimme your loot or ye walk the plank, and then put quotes at the end of that sentence. Then obviously you need a period or an exclamation point. Either one would be fine in this instance, because he might actually just be saying, give me your loot, or you walk the plank, or he might be yelling it, kind of however you visualize it. Exclamation point or period would both work there. What's the meaning of the underlined word? Plundered. So this is a lot like your homework throughout the year, where I gave you sentences and tried to get you to figure out what the words meant. Plundered means to steal or take. So if you wrote something to that effect, you'd be right. And again, if you get stuck on some of these, like that one, you could just Google. And then the last one, write a caption of the picture, and there's a bunch of correct answers here. You could write something, pirates walking the plank, or he's about to have a bad day, or something like that. Anything that kind of makes sense, you'll get right. There's tons of correct answers for that. I'm not going, we only have 15 minutes left, so I'm not going to go over Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But while you're going through those, if you have a question, feel free to either email me or give me a message on the Google Classrooms, and I'll explain why something's right or why something's wrong. I've noticed they've been getting more technical. Like number 2 from Tuesday was a very technical answer. Like it was, if you just skimmed through that, you probably would have said true. They just tried to trick you by leaving something out. Same thing with number two for Monday was also kind of tricky. Objective pronouns isn't something people spend a lot of time going over, and even explaining it in simple terminology is kind of hard. But so as you're going through there, if you have any questions, let me know. As soon as this is done and I'm done helping Nick, I'll post the answers on the Google Classrooms. All right. The second part of what we're going to go over is the vocab. The story for this week was The Treasures of Lemon Brown. You recognize this page because this, had we done this in class, this is exactly what your homework would have been. So you have the definitions, then you just use the definitions in each sentence so they make sense. So I actually did this earlier, so I'd have the answers all done. So the first one, Marissa loved going to theaters to see live shows. To her, those outings were a treasure, a most valuable experience. She felt a thrill as the curtain rose and the play would commence. If there was music, the beat of the drums might throb. Dancers would whirl around. The women's swirling skirts created a flash of brilliance under the spotlights. For Marissa, nothing compared with live performances. Although she was only 15, she felt she had lived a lifetime. She would cherish her memories for years to come. All right, so those are the answers to the vocab. The second part of your vocab, let me scroll through that a little bit quicker, is where you just have to underline the words that tell you the answer. So the first one, underline the words that tell what kind of treasure was produced. So you just go to treasure. What type of treasure are they talking about? And they're talking about literature, music, and art. So you could just underline that. And can I do that? Hey, there you go. I highlighted it, so kind of close. For the second one, underline the words that give clues to the meaning of commence. So commence means to start. This one's a little tricky. For the first time in history of the United States, white society would commence to notice African American writers, musicians, and artists. So this one, your answer is actually going to be for the first time. Underline that. Okay, I saw Nick type something. One of these is a map. I'm really confused about that one. Blackbeard. Oh, okay. So, hey, we can go back to that. The one about the map. Which one is that? Okay, this one. All right, so for the read section, again, you don't have to do the right section for Friday. Find the treasure spot on the map, mark it with an X. It looks like it would be near Port Dublin, so somewhere over here. Because as it goes 5 miles due south from Peg, so like 5 miles, so roughly there, and then 2 miles due west, so that would put you roughly there. Then 4 miles northeast, so northeast, and then 2 miles west, so it would put you in this ballpark, so somewhere over here. You don't have to actually use a ruler for it, kind of just eyeball it, but yeah, it would just be north of Port de Bloom somewheres where I put that box. Just kind of close to that, doesn't have to be identical. What is the elevation difference between Peg Leg Vial and the spot where the X is marked? So the elevation, okay, so that's this stuff right here, right? So the dots, the white, and so forth. And it's going, each line represents a rise of about 500 feet. So that's going to be, since it's only one rise up, it's only going to be 500. So your answer to the second one would be 500, because you see the little key here. Each line represents a rise of 500 feet. That means from here to here, from the white to the dark, is going to be 500. From the dots to the dark, that would be 2 steps up, so that would be 1,000. But because you're only going up 1 step from white to dark, it's 1 step, so it's 500. So the second answer would be 500. What map location is southeast of Peg Leg Vial? So you go Peg Leg Vial, south is down, and east is this way. So what location is southeast? That's going to be Parrot Cove. It's not going to be Port de Bloom because that's southwest, and it's not going to be Spy Peak because that's just south. So the only option is going to be Parrot Cove. And then the fourth one, how much higher elevation is Sky Peak than the treasure location? So Sky Peak's all the way up here. The treasure location's in white, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. So 4 times 5 is 20. Add a 0, so it's or add 2 zeros, so it's going to be 2,000 feet because you're going up 1, 2, 3, 4 different elevations. So it's going to be 500 plus 500 plus 500 plus 500. That's going to be 2,000. So we can all make Mr. Fitz proud by doing that math there. And then you don't have to do the right section, so that means you can skip all the vocab. Although if you want to talk like a pirate, you can, I guess, memorize these and impress people by saying avast or ne'er-do-well, which is pretty impressive. I might start saying ne'er-do-well, but there you go. All right, so we only got about 10 minutes left, so I won't finish going over the vocab. I will put the answers in the Google Classrooms. I think I actually already have it there. I think I just have to post it. Yep. So I'll post that right now. All right, so you will have that. Okay, so you guys actually that are here, I think I just have Nathaniel and Nick at the moment. Yeah. So Nathaniel, you oh, and Tristan's here too. Tristan's a little farther than the rest of you. So let's just go through kind of specific questions. With the movie poster, right? So the movie poster is probably the easiest one to get done. On Tuesday, I talked about you could go to poster.com. It was actually a website I found by grading Cameron Cobalt's assignment. He actually used a website called posters.com. That brings up this website where you can just make posters. So I can actually pull that up to show you an example. Poster Maker, just type that into Google, pops right up. You have to originally sign in, but you can just use your Google account, so you don't have to actually do anything. What it does is it brings out all these templates. So what Cameron did was he just took a template that was here and changed it. The cool thing about it is when you get a template, and I'm looking for the one I used last time as an example. Yeah. So say I take the movie poster Titanic. Okay, I guess I can't do it for free again because I previewed it too much earlier. But basically what it does is it will bring up a poster, right? And then each one of these sections, it will let you click on those to change it. So if I think this poster would be good for my movie poster, I could just click on the words outdoor movie night and change it to my title. And then I could change these little tickets to say other things or just delete them outright. And I could change the words down here to be written by, directed by, starring, and list the people from my movie. And there's a bunch of different ones you can pick from. They're kind of disorganized, but you can skim through the side to try to give them a better organization. But the one I thought was the best was the Titanic one. So I could just change Titanic to the name of my movie. I could change the names of the actors and actress below to whoever was going to be in my film. And then I can even add pictures to it if I want. So it gives you something to start with, and you can alter it as you see fit. Someone else in class who I thought did a pretty creative, where is that? Let me pull up Narelle real quick. So Narelle had, I cannot find it. Okay, so I'll just explain what he did, because there it is. Okay, so what Narelle did was he took a picture. So he just went on Google, found an image that he liked. His movie's about space, so he found a picture of space. Then he just pasted that onto the Google Drawings link that I gave you, and then he just wrote over that using the little options above where you can use, arrows, curves, whatever, and he just wrote the name of his movie. So you could find a picture that you like from Google Images or Yahoo Images or MSM Images or whatever search engine you're using, and then just right over top of that. You could also do the same thing on the Google Docs, and there you could just insert the text above. So there's a spot here where it lets you insert things, and then you would just insert the words above it, the comment. Just click comment, it'll let you type, and then that will appear right above whatever picture you decide to use. So, and the other options, the one Tristan did, Tristan's was really good too. He actually went the harder route. He went on Google Draw and he actually made shapes. I'm not exactly even sure how he did it, but I was really impressed that he was able to make a fire and people, and you can even tell which person's real and which person's the scarecrow. So I thought that was really good. And that probably took a long time, so that was really impressive. So you could do that also. It would be a little bit harder, but you're welcome to do that. I actually gave him some extra credit because I thought that would be really hard to do. So that's the movie poster, right? So that's probably the shortest aspect of what you're trying to do. Your actual soundtrack also shouldn't take you too long. The soundtrack, you're just listing your favorite, not necessarily favorite, but 10 songs that go along with your movie. So I know Tristan just has sounds of the beach. So he had found a playlist on YouTube. He sent me a link to that, and that's his soundtrack, which is fine. Someone else said they were actually going to produce their own song for their movie, and that's fine. And then I think Cameron just gave me a list, or not Cameron, Kashawn gave me a list of some songs, and then he gave me the artist who produced those songs, which was great too. So he had a list of songs, told me he wrote it, you're done, or Tristan gave me the link to the YouTube, which was great too. However you want to do it's great. Yeah, Tristan, I was really impressed with that. I talked about that on Tuesday. I showed it to Katana. She was trying to figure out how she was going to do her movie poster, and I was like, well, you could go this route. It would probably take a while, but you're free to do it. So the movie poster and the soundtrack are probably the two most straightforward aspects. You could get those done before you even know exactly what your movie is going to be. You probably need a concept before you do the movie poster and the soundtrack, but you don't have to have the whole story fleshed out. The script is where you really have to just know what you're going to be doing. What's your plot, who's your characters. That's probably going to take the longest. People have turned in every section so far except the script. So I've got movie posters from some people. I have storyboards. I have comics that look like pretty much walks through a story, but no one's actually done the script yet. So I expect that to take you guys a little bit longer, which is fine. All right. And then, too, feel free to email if you have any questions. I know Nathaniel sent an email earlier asking if he could use animals, which is cool. So I know, you guys have a lot of cool creative ideas. So just, let me know if you have a question, and I'll try to help you through it. Nick, you mentioned you were having trouble getting into the link. Since class is pretty much over, I can walk you through that now. What link are you talking about, Nick? Are you talking about the movie poster link, or the script link, or the soundtrack link? Oh, and Nick, you're probably on your phone, right? So you might have trouble getting into Google Docs or Google Pictures just because you're on your phone. If that's the case, you might have to do yours on pen and paper. So if you wanted to do your movie poster by just drawing on paper your poster and then taking a picture of it, that would be fine. You could do the same thing for your soundtrack. Just get a sheet of paper, write out your favorite 10 AC/DC songs, because I would assume all your songs would be AC/DC songs, and you could do that. Okay, yeah. So just draw the movie poster, Nick. Hey, no problem, Katana. Welcome. I posted the answers to week 4 of the packet just now, so those are there. We talked through those. Now we're just kind of answering people's questions. So Nick just brought up that he can't get into the links for the movie poster. So okay, yeah, and I'll check the email here in a sec. Hey, let me check it on my phone. That way, not everyone sees it. Give me one sec here. Do you just need ideas for what your movie is going to be about? Is that what you're saying? My phone's taking forever, so if you just want to tell me that while I'm typing it in. Nice. Yeah, and if you want to email or take a picture and just log it into the link, either one of those is fine. My email is actually up here, or it's also on the website. Someone asked earlier, so I think I typed it in there. Yeah, if you go to the stream for Google Classrooms, it pops up there also. Oh, you just want me to look at the script? All right, so I'm having trouble getting it on my phone, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up now. There's probably nothing that you guys can't see in my work email. Okay, yeah, so you just need some ideas. Okay, so that's fine. What I would do is I would just think, what is your, what's something that interests you? So if you're into, like, sports, make a story about sports. You can also, like, look at the world that you're kind of in right now and kind of use that for inspiration. You could do something like with, like, an athlete who's stuck at home so they can't perform their sport and how they're coping with it. So maybe like a high school athlete who is about to go to college and who's upset about the quarantine, he can't practice. You could do something like that. You could do something like a professional basketball player. I know their season got canceled. So how like a professional basketball player, like pick your favorite one, is dealing with the situation. So you could pretend like you were LeBron James, and how he's dealing with not being able to go to the playoffs this year because of the quarantine. Only 2 to 5 minutes. Some people aren't doing a movie. Instead, they're doing a trailer for a movie. So, like, maybe your idea would be for something that would take a really long time, but you're not going to film, like, 2-hour movie. So instead, you just give me a trailer for that 2-hour movie. And you can be creative. You can use, like, old toys you have lying around the house, props. Ethaniel's using animals, which is cool. Maybe you have a sibling who has stuffed animals. You could use those. You could print off, something from the internet, like say a background. So if you wanted to do something in outer space, you could have the picture of outer space and like kind of film stuff in front of that, so it looks more outer spacey. Just 2 minutes, 5 minutes, anywhere in between. Be as creative as you want with it. And then, pick a topic you're interested in. Tristan's is on set on a deserted island, which seems kind of cool. Yeah, that'd be great, Nick. Pretend like you're Odell Beckham, like he can't play football, or like probably won't be able to play football this fall, and how he's just dealing with it, how he's dealing with not being able to, practice and go out in public. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that you're probably like facing, and people that are probably coping with, that he's probably struggling with also, just like kind of boredom and being stuck at home. Yeah, and it's only got to be, like I said, between 2 and 5 minutes. So it's not, once you start filming it, it won't take as long as you think. like these YouTube sessions like fly by, at least for me. Kind of like we just start talking and then I look at the clock and it's already been a half hour. But once you start filming, like it'll go quick. So 2 minutes won't take hardly any amount of effort on your part. Once especially you start filming like what he's doing to like fill that void, maybe you have him like, you know, arguing with imaginary people, maybe you have him like on the phone arguing with the quarterback or the coach or whatever, you know, just however you want to do it. All right, Tristan, I will look at your script. Let's see here. Or did I exit out of Google Classrooms? All right, let me pull it up. Give me a second. I must have logged out of Classrooms by accident. Well, you know, I actually did look at this earlier, Tristan, on Tuesday. I mentioned that you had some stuff in here. So you have your main guy, Bob. I'm not sure. You mean Survivor, probably. Billy's your Scarecrow. So, okay, so it looks like you have Bob talking to the Scarecrow, and the Scarecrow doesn't answer. So that's cool. I would use your phone to record it, Nick. So just trying to answer a couple people's questions at once. So Tristan, script looks good so far. It's not long enough though, so you're going to have to add more. But yeah, that looks cool. I like the vibe of like someone going crazy on a deserted island and like talking to like an imaginary scarecrow, or a scarecrow that's real but just doesn't talk. Like I think that's cool. Like I'm curious to see how that turns out. Nathaniel, welcome. You messaged me on Google Classrooms. That's fine. It's actually after Google Class is already over. It only goes till 1. I'm just sticking around to answer questions people have. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those. You said you messaged me on the Classroom. Was this the one about the animals? Because I responded to that and I said that was cool. You're welcome to use your pets if they'll cooperate with you. Okay, so to send the finished video, you can just email that to me. So my email's up here, or if you go into the Google Classrooms, it's right under where you asked what's my email. So it's right there also. So either one of those. Also, I think I put it in the instructions for the movie project on the slides. Yeah, on the very last page of the slides. Also, so any one of those 3 places you can find it. Bam. So, yeah, just email it to me. I'll have to check with Miss Yingling if I can show the whole classroom the movies. I know if we were at school, that wouldn't be a problem, but because it's on the internet, it might be kind of like a privacy thing to like just have it on the internet. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. You don't necessarily have to talk at all, Nick. You could do the whole thing through actions. If you there are a few movies where like there's almost no talking at all. There was a movie with a guy on like a boat, and he was kind of lost in the middle of the sea. It had Robert Redford in it. I can't remember the name of the story, but he doesn't talk at all during the whole movie. So it would be harder because you have to kind of show what's happening, but you could do that. It's probably easier to let the audience know what you're doing with some dialogue, kind of just like explaining what's happening. But yeah, you could, if it's like a 1-person film, you could get away with not talking. I'm okay with that. If you have more than one character, though, you probably want to do some dialogue, but you could get away with it. What's the no? I'm not sure what you guys are saying. Please no to. Please no to what? The talking. You. So I'm okay with you making the movie without talking in it. I just think it would be really hard to do it, but you could possibly do it. Like you'd have to have a lot more, not, like exaggerated facial features and stuff to kind of like show what someone's thinking and feeling. You could probably get away with that. Talking will make it way easier though. Oh, you're saying please no to like putting the finished movies out for people to show. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to, just because of like privacy things. If we were in the classroom, we could probably do it. But I'm thinking putting them on the internet, I'm probably not allowed to do that. Probably shouldn't do that anyways now that I'm talking about it. Yeah, so probably won't happen. Because there's no way I could show it to just the class and ensure that other people aren't looking at it. So just privacy's sake, I probably can't do that. Probably just myself and Miss Miller will watch them. All right. So, any other questions? And for Katana, I did mention that I put the answers up already, right? For week 4 of the packet. And then Katana, you weren't here, but I just told the whole class the answer to your question about how there are 7 weeks of the packet, but there are only 6 weeks of class, so you don't have to do every week. So you could skip whichever week you didn't want. So if you think week 7's easier than week 6, you could do week 7 and skip week 6. Or if you think week 5's boring or whatever, you could kind of, mix and match however you want to do it. Okay. All right. So if there aren't any more questions, I'll end the stream. I'll stick around and answer any questions you guys might have. Thanks. Yeah, I got a haircut. I actually just did cut my hair right before here, so it's a little bit shinier than normal. So, all right, take care, and I think Mr. Andrews is up next, so if you're still available, you probably want to jump over to that. But type in any questions, I'll leave this up so I can answer those. Talk to you later. Bye.